There's an idea in the Conservative Party which is taking hold and which has been proposed before, which is to replace the ECHR with our own version of the ECHR. Now, the argument goes, and it's put forward quite interestingly in an article in the Daily Telegraph by Nick Timothy. He's the person who is going to sit in Matt Hancock's seat. He's the person who was previously one of the rather useless advisors to Theresa May. But failing a sort of complete implosion, he is going to be the next MP in Suffolk. And he's very keen on this idea of replacing the ECHR. His concern is that the ECHR stops Britain controlling its own borders. And what's his problem? His problem is the Good Friday Agreement. So getting out of the ECHR, he believes, would allow Britain to stop people coming into this country and to send them off elsewhere. This in itself is fraught with international problems that I think he hasn't really thought through. And the European Convention on Human Rights is short of a universal understanding of human rights, which we're also signed up to. So his idea is that getting out of the ECHR would avoid the noise the ECHR makes about our concerns over, quote, illegal immigration. But it would also interfere with the Good Friday Agreement, and the ECHR is a safeguard and is incorporated into the law in Northern Ireland. He has solutions, and his greatest solution is that we should have a domestic law that incorporates all the articles of the ECHR into the UK Parliament, and then it's the UK ECHR rather than the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg, which interprets all these laws. But I don't think that will work. And his idea is punctured at the core. The ECHR simply interprets international law. In this instance, the international law doesn't change, and there are people like Steve Pearce of Royal Holloway, who has said that compliance with the ECHR necessarily involves the Strasbourg court, and the idea that it's applied to the peace process but not foreign nationals is confused. The wider point is that it's not just a legal issue but a diplomatic one. And so even if his proposal is workable, which I don't think it is in the wider international community, the EU as well as the United States, for example, but both Europe and America would consider a threat to the ECHR a threat to the Northern Ireland peace process, and I think they would be right to do so. But it also raises the issue of trade and cooperation agreements between the UK and the EU, and the ending of criminal justice cooperation. Admittedly, we got into a mess because we can't access the records of, for example, migrants coming across because Lord Frost and his twits who were negotiating Brexit didn't think ahead and didn't think that a version of the Dublin 3 was necessary as part of our Brexit agreement. Of course it was necessary. Putting ourselves on a par with Russia and Belarus, who are the only countries in Europe, in the European continent, who are not parties to the ECHR, that puts us in very shady company. And this obsession with changing our international status in order to strike a deal that's convenient at the moment, this is putting the cart before the horse. And the problems which Nick Timothy dismisses as inconsequential, and the protests of an out-of-touch elite, well, the same people dismissed a lot of the problems with Brexit, and they've come back to bite us on the foot. And leaving the ECHR is simply not a good policy. We have to rebuild our reputation as a reliable upholder of international standards. We have to, and that has been threatened by our obsession with small boats and our obsession with questioning and pushing against the international laws that exist, and at the same time pontificating about what other people are doing. It just doesn't make very much sense. Withdrawing from the European Court of Human Rights will set us back significantly. Even talking about that sets us back significantly. As a political project, it is doomed. And even if Brexit succeeds, and Brexit is greatly regretted by a lot of the community at the moment, electoral success will not be won by more destruction. Electoral success is won not by destroying things, but by building things, and by promising something positive rather than delivering something negative. And the negative is a thin wedge down a long hill. Oh gosh, that's an awful mixed metaphor. But there we are. The sense is there. I think it's a piece of cheese that is going mouldy very fast.